I knew I had this weird obsession with spanking that I didn't understand. Except he didn't get this side of me because I was hiding it. I was still embarrassed about it because it was weird. I eventually moved to New York City and became a professional dominatrix through the weirdest string of events. And I was like, how do I find my way back? And I found sex and relationship coaching. I spend my days helping people navigate this in their own relationships. Eventually, I made it my full-time thing, so now I can openly say I'm Amanda Dames, the Kink Consultant.
You can make it far, hey, don't doubt yourself. Every time you fail, just take it as a win. Keep in mind that we all learning.
That's fine. How you doing?
Good. How are you both doing? You've had a busy, month, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we're so sorry we had to reschedule so much. Yeah, I know he told you my mom had a big surgery, so she's doing much better now. So we really appreciate you, figuring out the time we can do this again.
Oh, no, it's not a big deal to me at all. Like, I'm sitting at my computer either way. It is never a big deal. And it's that thing if you just getting time back also feels like winning the lottery because it's like, oh, I get to answer more emails in this time now that didn't exist. So
yeah, we got to catch
all
up. That's
good.
for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, is your mom doing okay?
Yeah, she's doing much better now. She's definitely in full recovery mode. Every time I talk to her, she sounds a little bit better. So it's really
Thank
good.
God.
Thank you for
Okay.
asking.
Happy to hear that.
Yes.
So
It's okay.
I'm in Missouri and I swear the humidity here,
Yes.
it's not Texas heat, but this humidity, I hate it. I just moved from Vegas and dry heat was amazing and this is hell. I feel like I'm in the asshole of America right now.
I just had a conversation with somebody. Honestly, we were going to do a whole intro, but this is a good start to the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
I
let's
just
do it.
had a conversation about this with somebody that said they're from Arizona. We always hear that it's hot in Arizona and stuff compared to Texas, but it's different when it's a dry heat, she was saying, rather than the humidity heat. That's really what gets you.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I was playing pickleball in 105-degree weather. And I would play it for an hour and the dry heat, I was fine. I love the heat. Here, I'm not a whole human 30 minutes in with the humidity and it's like 80 degrees and
Yes.
I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
I didn't sign up for any of this actually. Though I
Right.
moved here for a man, not even totally, a man I love. So I moved here for myself to be with a man.
Right,
Yes.
right. Well, Caylin knows
I didn't
about
sign
I've
up for
done the
this.
same thing.
Yeah.
The same
Where'd
thing.
you move
She-
from?
It wasn't a huge move, but there was only 2 hours in between. So it was from Corpus Christi, Texas to San Antonio. And we were already long distance for a whole year. So we stuck together. And then after, I moved from my family. All I had was my mom and my brothers. And I moved from that to be with him. So
Yeah. Well,
totally
in
worth
Texas, going from city to city is
Yeah.
a long drive technically. But yeah, I mean, and then when we first got together, we worked at a HEB, but because I worked in loss prevention, the security division, she was a cashier and they were like, "Oh, since y'all are together, y'all could conspire to steal or something." So she there's been so many occasions where she's uprooted her whole life to have to either transfer stores for me or transfer cities. And then even when my mom passed away, she's 3.5 hours away from her family. And yeah, just all for me. So it's like you were saying, for a man
Yeah,
you
lucky
love.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's how it is. But yeah, to turn it back around, I mean, we're just, again, so happy we could get this going and finally get a podcast with you. But yeah, one of the first questions we always ask our guests is what is the origin story? How did you get to be in the spot that you are today? Which I understand started with answering a Craigslist ad. So yeah, can you kind of go from as early as you want to start, how you kind of got into it?
Oh, we're going far back, but I'm going to try and make this quick, okay?
We want to know it all for sure.
I knew I had this weird obsession with spanking that I didn't understand, but I knew no other kid cared about spanking this much. To be clear, I didn't want to be spanked, but I was always super excited if my friends' parents threatened to spank them, and I wanted to hear all the details like no other kid wanted. That was a theme my whole life. And even when I was 13, I found out, oh, this is something called kink, and it's sexual in nature. So I realized all these fantasies had been having were kind of sexual in nature. And I know it's weird to talk about it knowing about it as a kid, but I didn't understand what it meant at that
Right,
age. I just
right.
knew I was obsessed. Turns out what I actually had is something called a fetish, which is something that is a need to have versus a kink, which is a nice to have, being that sometimes kink can be fun to spice up your sex life. A fetish is required to achieve arousal. So even if I'm not being spanked or punished, I'm running that fantasy in my mind to achieve orgasm or even get aroused. So moving along from that, I held on to this and I still felt like a weirdo just because I realized, oh, this is kink and not just me being obsessed with spanking. I got some boyfriends to spank me. I got married to a non-kinky guy who I ultimately got divorced from, but I did elope at 20. So it was like a
Yeah, it was
there
like
were
one of those
other
things.
things. Yeah,
Was
you
it
don't
what was it
fully
like
know
your
yourself.
first like love or first like real?
No, it was like I started dating at 14. So he was
Oh,
like,
okay.
that was my first love. And then there was the guy I lost my virginity to, and that was my second love. And then the person I married was the guy I met in college who I was like, no one has ever gotten me like this guy has gotten me.
Okay.
Except he didn't get this side of me because I was hiding it. I was still embarrassed about it because it was weird.
Right, right, yeah. Which is another
Through
question I
all of
have.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Through all of that, I eventually moved to New York City and became a professional dominatrix through the weirdest string of events of just having a job, having health insurance, not being able to like really buy myself anything nice or live in New York in a way that I wanted to. So I got this second job, went to Craigslist, found a dominatrix position, and started to be a dom and fell in love with the work. So I was already kinky,
Yeah.
but like I decided to, take it up a notch.
Right,
Now, was
right.
that something you had like in your head, like when you went to Craigslist, like that day? Did you have in your head that you were looking for something specific, dominatrix, or like what were you looking for?
I thought I could maybe, New York is a city of so many gigs that
Yeah.
I thought maybe I could get like a catering event or a host at a restaurant or anything that allowed me to work a 9 to 5 and then go work a different job at night.
Hmm.
But when I saw that, like I knew it was a job, I knew it existed. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
not like I was like, oh, what is this job that I can do?
Yeah.
Right.
But like to actually pull the trigger and go to the interview, like to send the email, go to the interview, like show up for the job.
Mhm.
I don't, yeah.
No,
I even wonder,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is this when Craigslist
no.
had the personnel's page? Was it on that?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
this was
yeah.
2013.
Okay, maybe
Oh,
they
Yeah.
didn't
okay.
change that. Yeah, I'm just saying because yeah, we're talking about specific things. I've dove into that world, but yeah, that's another. Yeah,
Yeah, this like Craigslist, like getting a domination, getting a job at the dungeon is not my craziest Craigslist story ever. Like
right,
there's
right,
like
right,
other Craigslist stories that are crazier than
Yeah.
that.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, that's how I found my way into this type of work and world. But like, I still had a day job and that eventually took off in a way, like after 2 years, I couldn't keep showing up to the dungeon for a second job. At a certain point, you just have to focus on your career, what you really want to build.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out of that type of work for about 6 years. I still explored it in my personal life, but I missed it. And I was like, how do I find my way back? And I found sex and relationship coaching. And it was like I became certified and I realized I can do this and focus specifically on kink. And that wasn't something I expected going in. So I started a business focusing on sex and relationship coaching for people who are interested in kink and want to introduce it in their relationship. And now I spend my days helping people navigate this in their own relationships.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, talk about turning something you love into a job.
Yeah.
They always say
Yeah.
you don't work or something, right? If you do something you
Yeah.
love, some
And
cliche.
you don't work when you're doing it, but let me tell you, if you're in charge of your own marketing, you don't stop working.
Yeah, that's
But
true
Oh,
yeah,
too, right? Yeah.
I
yeah. I'm sure
but
a
I
job like that requires a lot of marketing.
so much because I'm putting myself on Instagram and TikTok and even when I started doing the work as a coach, I had a different job. I was working at NBC at the time and I had a senior, like a mid-level, I was like a director of retention strategy for their streaming service Peacock and I was like, I don't want people knowing these two worlds that I'm living in right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So I went to TikTok and I didn't even use my name. I just called myself the Kink Consultant.
Wow.
And I answered questions and made videos teaching people about kink and relationships. And from there, I started to gain traction and get clients. And eventually I made it my full-time thing. So now I can openly say I'm Amanda Dames, the kink consultant.
That's
I love it.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, so like you said, you're a certified sex and relationship coach. So I mean, are you still technically a professional dominatrix? Would you say, or would you still say former?
I would still say former because I think if the dominatrix title requires so much energy and in-person work where you are really taking someone on a journey and they're submissive. I teach a lot of people to become doms though. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Nice.
so I will do in-person classes and like, at the end of this year I'm going to Jamaica for a kinky like a kink vacation where I'll be
Nice.
teaching classes on how to spank and impact play and navigating kink in your relationship. So I do some in-person stuff where I'm still like doing impact and teaching
Nice.
people how to build a scene and I'm
Yeah.
being the dom, but
Where do we get
I would
tickets? No.
not call. Yeah. I'd love to see you
Well,
there. Like,
see, like,
That would be crazy.
well, see, that kind of goes into my next question because, like, does everybody, like, okay, can anybody be a dom or a sub, or like, do people like themselves have a specific role? Like, do you have to unlock your dom, or you unlock your sub, or can anybody be a dom? Because, like, I don't know, yeah, not to sound bad or weird, but like, because I think the idea of being both, like, it interests me because like I couldn't do either. Like I can't see myself like submissing to somebody like that. But then like I've been with other women that have like choked me, slapped me, and I'm like I don't know what to do because I don't see myself doing that. Like so like how does
okay.
that work?
Well, you had kinky stuff happening to you, and
But see, I mean,
so
I
you've
have my
been
own
there.
kinks too. Like that's why I'm not
Yeah,
hating because I have my own kinks. Like certain things
yeah.
like something like that. Like so like how does that work?
Okay, well, I'm a switch, so I can do both, and I'm a firm believer that everyone has both inside of them, so you are unlocking it. But you're not putting on a persona, you're finding your authentic version of it. So if you came to me and you said, listen, I'm not dominant at all, but I want to do this for my partner, what you would act, we would talk about like what kind of person you are, I'd ask you to look up the different types of DOMs and read about them and tell me what sounds like you, what doesn't sound like you. And I'd try and pull out your authentic DOM so that we could figure out the type of approach you want to take. If you really were going in deep, I'd want to either have you ask your submissive partner or potential submissive partner what they were interested in so we could curate scenes that would be interesting to them, that would feel authentic to you, and then go from there.
Right, right.
Same if you thought you wanted to try being a submissive or you were with someone who's dominant, I'd actually find out like, well, what do you think you might enjoy about submission? And you seem kind of okay with being slapped and choked. I don't know. Like I'd ask questions like, what were you okay with? What weren't you? It's not like choking is one thing that is very risky play, but slapping, it's like you seem like maybe you're into impact or okay with it. And how could we integrate that into your sex life?
Right. And I think you hit the key word risky play because it's like, yeah, I guess in my brain
Oh yeah.
it starts crossing boundaries where I'm like, is this really sexual or is this like so yeah, where does that psychology come from when like somebody actually gets off on like physical, I guess, pain?
I think our receptors are different. So some people, I compare it to I do enjoy pain. I enjoy the pain of spanking. I enjoy pushing my body in that way, and there's something that feels exciting and exhilarating about it.
Mm.
I always think like I bet to people who aren't into it, it feels like running to me. I hate running. I've never experienced runner's high. Have either of you?
No,
No,
yeah, no. See,
absolutely
I'll
Yeah.
lift
not.
weights, but I hate cardio, so I know
Yes.
exactly what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah. There's like, and I will run, but I hate it. I hate every second of it. It never feels good. And
Right.
I just don't think I have whatever creates running high. I think there are people who just don't have what creates my type of like pain high that I
Right.
enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm wondering because you mentioned something a minute ago about like what type of dominate or dom are you or what type of sub are you? Like, is there a lot of types or is it just a few?
Ooh, good question. I would say there's probably five main categories, okay? That when we think of the traditional dom, and that's probably that it's not like a sexual dom who's being like, get on your knees and suck my cock, but they're being very deliberate and guiding the person and telling them what to do. And it doesn't always have to be about sex, but That's the dom we imagine. We imagine the like quintessential idea of what we see on TV, man or
Yeah,
woman,
see,
you know?
that's what seems awkward. It's like I'm not trying to be all like, yeah, like I'm gonna put you on a leash and you're gonna crawl on the floor. Like that just seems too much.
Yeah, it doesn't feel authentic to you. You could
Right.
never ask someone to do that because that is a degrading type of play that not everyone's into. And it sounds like you're like, actually, I'm not sure I could respect you after I did that to you, or
Right.
because you you wouldn't even be excited about it, you know? But if it excited you, that respect would come because you'd be like, oh, like we shared this together. So a traditional dom, or what, there's no better name for it in my mind, it's just traditional dom.
Yeah.
But then there's the caretaker dom. So that's your daddy dom, mommy dom type. And they enjoy taking care of someone. The way I talk about that is it's like having, they're like a little ray of light and they want to shine it on you and keep you warm and safe and make sure that you're drinking your water and getting your exercise. And did you eat today? That's your caretaker, you know? And that's a type of dom that a lot of people seek right now. They want that type of dominant to, I guess, because the world feels scary. It's nice to be taken care of, especially when you have decision fatigue, adult fatigue, you know, bills. You just want to feel like someone else is carrying the load or helping.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
so
there is,
is this my
yeah,
way of finding out that you're the dom? Because that sounds a lot like you. Like we have this
I
inside
think we
joke that
just
she keeps my stomach full, my balls empty. So it's like, it's like, is
It's a
that my way
thing.
of finding out I'm a
I
sub?
guess I am.
What?
it's about the intention behind it too, because things that we do in everyday life, like I live with my boyfriend and he's also my dom, and my job is to make the bed every day. That is a typical thing you would do, but because that he's put that on me and I have to do it and he like doesn't want to come home and not see the bed done or else I get in trouble, like it's the intention behind it and the consequence and all of that. So that's part of what makes it kinky.
Yeah, I
But I
think
don't know.
I think like what he was saying is just like, yeah, it's like I genuinely like I get that like feeling inside of me when I like will make him like a plate of dinner and he like genuinely I can see it all over his face. He loves it. Cleans the plate. Like it definitely like it makes me feel something like
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I would tap into that for you. Like,
yeah.
for example, if you came to me and told me, oh, I want to be a dom, or I think I would find out that's the type of person you are, and I would just almost harden the edges a little bit because it's not just you feeding him, you're checking in on him, making sure he ate, finished his plate, and you are providing structure for him,
Yeah.
you know, which kind of sounds like you're doing anyway. It's just without
Yeah.
that harder edge
Right.
of that contains the dom side of the caretaker dom.
Right,
And
Yes.
right.
then there's pleasure doms, which the word has been appropriated by men who just are like, I am a pleasure dom. And really, they just mean I like giving women orgasms. And I mean, that's fine, but that's again, there's no hardened edges around it. So just like I explained the caretaker dom, it's like, okay, so you give women orgasms, but are you providing structure? Are you
Right.
creating a framework for them to explore their submissive side in it?
Maybe that's where it comes where you're the caretaker is because not to go into men's mental health, but it's so fragile. Like, you know, and yeah, she really helps patch those, holes.
That sounds like a good, strong relationship, right?
Hmm.
And then also, if you were enjoying it and that fullness that she gives you of like, you know, patching those holes, if being taken care of that also excited you sexually, and not all kink is about sex, but I would say that would be a way to know of like, is this something I want to explore more if this excites me on a different level? And the reason I even qualify it like this is there also seems to be this myth out there right now that if you're not kinky, you're boring. And that's not true either, you know? So I
Yeah.
never want people to think they have to be kinky because I'm like, no, everyone should just want a healthy, happy relationship.
Right,
Right.
right, and not to play devil's advocate here, but doesn't that help the relationship though too? I mean, I guess it depends because like I'm a physical person too, so I've been in relationships where that was kind of like the thing that women didn't like. They didn't really want to always have sex or always want to do certain like
Or even be
foreplay
touched.
or even be touched. Like even as simple as like I don't know, like yeah, like if I want to just sometimes she'll be doing the dishes, I just walk up to her and start feeling on her. It's like
Yeah.
little things like that. It's like that. I feel like that helps the relationship in my sense because I'm a physical person. I'm a touchy person. Yeah. So like, what advice would you give to like couples that are struggling with that, where you got one physical person and the other one that's maybe not as physical?
I always talk about it like building a bridge to each other because you both need to be focusing on each other's needs and also having your needs met, right? So you have to take responsibility in having your needs met to communicate what you need, and your partner needs to do the same. And in there, you kind of work its way together like a puzzle of understanding, hey, I enjoy touching you. I'd enjoy if you touched me back. But maybe that's not what you're looking for. Maybe you want words of affirmation and told like, "Ooh, you look good today," like or
Right.
something positive like that. So it's about providing your partner with what they need and then finding a way to make space for what they need without crossing your own boundaries. Because if you are in a no-touch mood, I would never say, "Oh, well, let your partner touch you because they're your partner."
Right,
That's
right,
kind
yes,
of
yes. Yeah, that's yeah. I see. Yeah, it
yeah,
gets
that's
weird. It
skeezy.
gets weird. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So I work with people and I try and find those moments of connection and I ask like, well, what felt good about it? Especially things like dirty talk come up a lot, right? Because some people really like that dirty talk throughout the
Yes, I like
day.
dirty talk.
Yeah.
That's
For
another thing.
sure.
She loves dirty talk, and I feel awkward dirty talking.
Right, yeah.
So what I would do then is I would immediately be like, okay, we need, I'll offer and work with people for a couple of sessions and I'll be like, oh, okay, we need individual sessions. Like, let's not do a couple session. I understand what Caylin wants to hear, what you would want to like what and then I would go to you and I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't say this is what she said and like we'd go through that. I'd
Yeah.
really just like because that doesn't help either. What I would
Yeah.
try and do is bring out your authentic self
Hmm.
of what types of things you feel comfortable talking about and I would try and find ways to connect that and sort of help you build on it yourself until you reach where I know Caylin is, you know?
Hmm. Yes, I
Yeah.
like
So
that.
it's
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
it's a hands-on approach for sure.
that's what I'm thinking of because like yeah, it's like I literally can't see myself like that, but yeah, I guess like yeah, with baby steps, yeah, anything's possible, right?
Also with baby steps, but the positive reinforcement of feeling your partner get really wet or get really hard as
Right.
you're doing these things, that builds confidence. So if I
Hmm.
can kickstart that by like putting you on the right path, I know that you'll build on it, because I've seen it, I've proven it. I have done this with so many couples that I take this approach because I believe that we can talk about communication all day long. I can say, talk about this, do this. But sometimes you need the pleasure first. You need that positive reinforcement before you put all the time into talking about it because you need to
Right.
see what the prize is going to be, you
Right.
know?
Yes. Need that trial. The trial run.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
and it does
I'm
take trial and
providing
error.
curated
Yeah.
trial runs.
I'm just curious, like when you met your current husband or boyfriend, were you in the dominatrix world or had you already put that behind you, like moving on to the relationship coach?
I had already put it behind me, and it was, I was so far behind me that when I met my partner, I did meet him at a kink convention,
Oh.
and he didn't know like who I was. And I only say that because like a lot of people in the kink world specifically know me because there aren't tons of Instagram. It's not like I'm a makeup Instagrammer where there's like
Right, it's
tons of like,
oversaturated. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but like his friend knew who I was and things. And I had to explain to him when I met him and we talked about maybe something could be between us. We haven't even been together a year, by the way. But I had to tell him, listen, this used to be my job. I talk about it publicly. I've had people tell me they can't be in a relationship because of it. So I refuse to actually entertain the idea of us being in a relationship until you've listened to these podcast episodes, watched these videos, read these blog posts. So I had to introduce him to like this life I used to live because I think a lot of people have what you call a hoe phase and it lives in their 20s and they don't talk about it except, with girlfriends about like, oh, remember that time I did that?
Right.
Except
And men
I,
and women have that, by
oh,
by the
Yes.
yes,
way.
yeah. Oh my God, do you want to know the unfair thing?
What?
I was just saying, like, in my mind, all men were like that and not every woman had it. So I was just like, oh, some
Oh.
women have women have a hoe phase, whereas that was wrong of me, but I
Oh no no
have this
no! I
preconceived
didn't mean it
notion.
like that. No, I
Yeah.
was just
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No.
Sometimes I'll throw in little joke things in there.
Yeah, no,
Like,
sorry. What was really funny was I was just like, oh yeah, I just made an assumption that every man has a longer hoe phase too.
oh
But
yeah.
women don't talk about it the same way,
Yeah.
except I made it part of my career. So I was already out of it. But at the convention that we met at, I did go top someone. So that's like domination, but without the deeper psychology of it. Of, I just went and like spanked and paddled some guy. And so at the event, I was still being like both dominant and submissive. And he's dominant. And I knew that from the get-go. I was very happy with that. But he had to learn about my dom life
Yeah.
through, luckily, I've documented through podcasts and blog posts and like so much about
Right.
those days.
You're there to
Yeah.
get to somebody to get to know you. Just like,
Yes.
read
Yeah.
watch this. Like,
And what does like a kink convention like consist of?
So there are so many of them around like the world, but I was specifically at one for my fetish. It was a spanking convention, which was cool because then my boyfriend is into the exact same thing I
Oh,
am into,
yeah, that
and
works.
it's like a perfect matchup. And I'd been to plenty of them. So like I had been to many before I met him, but there are different ones too. There's like a DomCon for dominance, like dominant women, and that is a really fun convention. They have it in New Orleans and LA, but no matter what you're going to, and there is a convention for everything you can imagine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are surrounded by people who are at least open-minded in the same way you are, even if they're not into the exact same thing. A lot of them go out of their way to set up educational segments of the convention, just like a lot of conferences, and you go and you learn different parts about the thing you're already into. You learn how to do it more safely. You learn how to do it more creatively. So during the day, you're going to these classes or going to events, like they have immersive experiences like school, where you are all adults and you play like you're going to school and get spanked. And then in the evenings they have parties and suites. Like if you've been to a swingers party, it's like that, except
Right.
no one's having sex at the party I was at. They're just spanking each other.
Oh,
It doesn't mean
wow.
that, yeah, it doesn't mean other events don't have sex. They do,
Oh.
but you need a hotel takeover more for those ones.
Right.
And even the conventions I've been to haven't been hotel takeovers in the same way. But then a month and a half ago, I was on a swingers cruise that was also a kinky cruise. So highly recommend it. So fun. So with that, I was just surrounded by it. You're on the ocean and everyone's either a swinger or a kinky. My partner and I are monogamous, but we still checked out the playrooms and things like that. So it's kind of the same thing at a kink convention. There
Yeah.
are playrooms, you see people play, and you get to know each other. You make friends. It's like summer camp with kink.
That goes into my next question with like shame. So, of course, like these lifestyles that people are in, like you don't want to announce to everybody, but there are certain people you're comfortable with that you feel comfortable with telling them. But then there's other people that I don't know, you just don't know how to deal with that shame in case that shame would come. So, yeah, how do people navigate that?
You have to free yourself from the shame to begin with and allow
Mm.
other people's judgment to be about them because that's all it is in the first place.
Right.
Every piece of shame you are made to feel is about somebody else's expectations of you. And it is totally fine to protect yourself and decide, I don't need to put up with their judgment. I don't have the energy to block myself from that coming towards me.
Mm.
I'm not going to tell them. I tell everyone because I'm on like this deep life mission to destigmatize kink. So the more people I tell I'm kinky, the less stigmatized it is. And part of me feels like I'm not the traditional kinkster as TV shows you.
Right.
Okay, yes, I have dark hair, but I'm not this like stick thin woman in a corset and thigh high leather boots wielding a crop with or I don't have purple hair and a collar around me all the time, or I don't have a bunch of tattoos and I'm not like shaved head screaming at someone. These are
Right.
the images people think of when they hear
Like the
kink or
goth mommy or
BDSM.
something. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
And I'm like, we actually look just like your next door neighbor, you know? And
You never
some
know.
And that's a
people,
good point. We
you
always talk
never
about you
know.
never know what people are into because we've met some people that look like straight laced people, and you just be surprised at things they're into.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not saying people who meet me and don't know, they sense an edginess or a weirdness about me that they
if you
can't
know, you
quite.
know. Yes, it's
Yeah.
like one of those
Yeah. But then,
things.
like, yeah. So I just try and talk about it as much as possible. But my recommendation is, yeah, if you feel you're going to be judged, protect yourself. It can be a need to know basis. I I almost welcome the judgment now because it allows me to ask questions that I'm not scared to ask people about where their perspective is coming from, why they feel that way. And that just further informs me as to what I'm fighting, what I'm trying to put out as content and information so that I can achieve my goal of destigmatizing kink in the world.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. Wow, that's so good. Nice. Yeah, we're running out of time here, but yeah, it's been such a great conversations. Again, we thank you so much for being on. And where can people find you if you want to plug all your links and everything, your website?
Yeah, sure. So, amandadames.com. If you are interested in exploring kink with your partner and you want the type of help I provide, which is that really hands-on approach, amandadames.com, you can book a consult there. Or you can find me on Instagram at _Kink Consultant. And if you are interested in learning more about kink in general, I would love if you'd also listen to my podcast, the Kink Consultant Podcast.
Nice. Yeah. When we subscribe, so
Yes.
yeah, we'll be checking
Awesome.
it out.
Thank you.
Anytime
Yeah.
you have anything to plug, or anytime you just want to come on the show and just talk about a certain topic, just let us know. We'd love to
Anything,
have you on.
anything
it.
to promote? Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yeah, because you're one of the guests that we definitely this was definitely a breeze, and the conversation went by so fast. We say that for some guests, but we only say it when we mean it.
Yes.
We don't say it for
Yeah.
all guests, even though we appreciate all guests.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah,
did
of
you have
course.
anything else?
No, I don't think so. It was just a really great conversation, and yeah, hopefully we get to talk soon. And yeah,
would
we gotta
love that.
we gotta figure out when that Jamaica trip is. I'm still thinking about it.
October 10th to 17th. You guys should check it out.
So
Wait, if anyone is listening, I have a discount code. So it's swingcation.com. If you guys have show notes, I'm going to send you this. So swink, like swinger, but there's a K at the end.
Yeah.
Cation, like swinkcation.com. That has all the information about it. And then I think you can get at least $200 off, up to $400 off with the code TKC50. So TKC50, put that in when you book, and I will see you there.
nice.
Nice,
Yeah, check
sounds
that out,
good.
people. Spice up your sex life. And yes, again, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.